Homelessness National Network. And so these are reliable sources for national data. But this number right here, this about 1,000 LGBTQ youth are estimated to be homeless in Detroit on any given day. This number fluctuates from time to time, give or take 100 individuals. However, over the last couple years, we have seen this number grow. We've seen the number of young people who have been rejected by their families grow, the number of young people who have needed support of things like Chosen Family and organizations like Ruth Ellis Center, we've seen those numbers grow. So the work of this agency, as we hoped, would dwindle, but over the years we have seen that it's not dwindling, but the need is actually growing. And so we have opportunities for these young people and their families to curb some of this 39% of LGBTQ youth reported being forced into sexual activities. Many of which are forced into these activities because they are vulnerable. We know that these young people are more likely to be susceptible into these situations. We also recognize that they're more likely to have to do things like sexual activities in order for them to get by. I remember when I was a young person, and we would go to the Ruth Ellis Center to hang out, and the girls would talk about their experiences from the night before, to have to get things like room fare, which was basically just money to pay for their hotel room for that night. And it was not always the best. And so it creates an environment where young people are vulnerable to being trafficked and forced into long-term situations that they can't get out of. And so these agencies, like the Ruth Ellis Center and so many others, are really important because we allowed a safe haven for these folks to, one, grow, be educated, find out best ways that they can report, and also get help in ways that we might not be able to offer them. Because we are not a crisis agency and we're not an emergency shelter, we have to refer folks out to other agencies for this work. But serving as a safe space for those folks in the first place, for them to go to in the event of an emergency or in the event that they're having a mental breakdown or a moment of a crisis, and we're available for them. And having that ability to be able to go to someone who's going to help them further is really important. So having a space to begin with is really important. I don't know if anyone listens to podcasts, but we are some podcast girlies at the Ruth Ellis Center. We have our own podcast called Voices of Ruth Ellis Center podcast, where we talk about real world issues that affect our young people and the agency and the work that we do. We just did an episode about goodness gracious, about Chosen Family. It isn't out yet. It comes out in December. But the episode is about how these young people are often forced into situations that are very dire because they have no one else to turn to or to speak about these situations or to just express how they're feeling. So when we have folks like volunteers who come to our agency to engage in activities with our young people, that are people who are listening, who are encouraging. It allows our young people to see that there's a whole community of folks who understand them and are listening and loving them. And that's something that these young people need because we recognize that they're more likely to want to unalive themselves or commit suicide if they don't have a supportive person in their life. So if I can be that supportive person, or if a volunteer handing them a hot plate can be that supportive person, or a person that's being able to give them warm clothes fresh out the dryer, those are things that we really look forward to because it makes them feel valued and less likely to want to end up in situations, rather, not want to be, but end up in situations that are going to expose them to further harm. So over the last 25 years, these are some of the things that we have done as an agency. So we have served more than 15,000 young people since this agency was founded. We oftentimes get young people who travel from across the country to come to Ruth Ellis Center. And it's not always the best for many of them because when they come here, they need things like housing, they need things like food. Many of them don't have transportation or any type of finances. So how do they figure those things out? They go to a place that's safe. Excuse me. But when you're running from a very toxic environment or a very toxic family, if you will, you may not be seeing correctly, and you're also young, so you're expecting a child to navigate this world on their own. So agencies like the Ruth Ellis Center come in handy. People always ask me, how do people find out about the Ruth Ellis Center? They find out from their friends. They find out from people who have been in their shoes, who know that they need this support. We have a young person who comes to the center faithfully every day that we're open, and one day we asked him, I'm like, I've never seen you before. Like, how'd you get here? He's like, oh yeah, my friends brought me. And I was like, your friends just brought you? And they were like, yeah. He's like, yeah, one day we were hanging out, and they were like, you should really come to the Ruth Ellis Center. And I just came, and I saw all the dancing and the music, and it was such a good time. I decided to come back. Well, it was important for this young person because after, I don't know, maybe like a few months of him being at the Ruth Ellis Center, he was able to get a part of our workforce development program that we had recently launched. And now he has a job at Macy's. Didn't have a job at first. He was struggling, actually, living with his mom in Madison Heights. And so he caught the bus to us on a weekly basis just because we had the resources that he needed. And so this is why it's really important that we spread the word of Ruth Ellis Center, because so many young people could even just receive even just the slightest of the support makes a difference in their lives. Some of the other critical information that I love to share is how much food we've distributed. So we not only just do hot meals, we also do food boxes. So we do food boxes throughout the week as well to young people and their families in need. 330 pounds of food. That's a lot of food. And these boxes are diversified of non-perishable food items mixed with vegetables. You got proteins. You have your grains and things of that nature. But the work that we do is all funded through community. The 92% housing stability. So that means 92% of young people that come into our care for housing support are either housing stable or moving towards that right now as we speak. Over the last 25 years, 92% of these young people have been able to reach that housing stability, which is really important. We operate this work from 4 key principles: positive youth development, trauma-informed care, restorative justice, harm reduction. Harm reduction is a pretty basic one, ensuring that we are doing less harm to our young people than anybody else, but also offering them a path to do things that may be risky in a safe manner. So we all know that it's really hard to stop people from potentially using drugs or potentially doing things like commercial sex work to survive. How do you keep them safe in those situations? You provide them with things like protection, you provide them with things like drug exchange and needle exchange opportunities. But even it goes as far as some of our trans women who don't have quality health care. When you don't have quality health care, you don't know how to properly give yourself things like hormone injections. That could cause that can cause infections. Those are really important educational tools that our young people need to know to navigate this world. So whatever we can do to teach them to navigate this world in a safer manner is really important to the work that we do. Restorative justice, thinking about the work that we do and how does it harm our young people from a systematic standpoint, and how can we fix some of those systems? Maybe a young person has had a run-in with delinquent behavior. We don't judge them for that. How do we curb some of that behavior because we realize that it might be due to their environment or due to the type of lifestyle they were forced into? How do we not punish a young person for just expressing themselves? How do we help them grow to be an actual accountable adult in society? Those are the things that we're looking at there. Positive youth development, I think, is pretty straightforward. Positive youth development, looking at their strengths, highlighting their strengths, working on those strengths, and leaning into those things. Okay, so I really want to talk to you about the programs and services, and then we're completely done. So the Health Equity and Outreach Department has 2 key programs: Kofi House, which is our center for lesbians, queer women, and girls, and our drop-in center, which is where the Love Wins committees comes on a monthly basis to serve hot meals. We also have our Integrated Health and Wellness Center services. So we have behavioral health support services provided by Ruth Ellis Center staff with funding from Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network. And then we have health care services provided by Henry Ford Health System. We also have our housing support services and our Ruth Ellis Center Institute. The Institute is our training and evaluation arm, so they train providers, doctors, nurses, and therapists, anyone who provides a service of any kind to be more affirming. Think like, social workers who may have personal biases about what it means to be LGBTQ. How do you remove those biases to be a better person and offer support to those young people so they have a safe space to speak up and express themselves? This is an actual picture of Kofi House. I was just there on Friday. They just had a really cute beautification We got some new flowers here. This house was actually donated to us by John Kavanaugh. It is our Center for Lesbians, Queer Women, and Girls. And at this center, we basically offer a safe space for queer women and girls to receive critical resources. So workforce development opportunities. We do things like career fairs, resume building workshops. We have a really great computer lab. We have an awesome clothing closet in that space that has feminine hygiene products. Maybe some of these girls or women have children. We have a really cool kids corner where kids can do activities. Parents can help their kids with their homework. They do yoga at this space, slam poetry. I mean, you name it. They have some really fun career and skill building activities that happen at this facility that we really love to see, as well as the generational mentoring program. This was something that Ruth herself, like I said earlier, she's about the intergenerational conversations. This is something that Ruth would have been so proud to see because we have older mothers teaching young mothers. Some of these young moms who have no idea what they're doing because they were forced into this life with not many options to navigate the world as a new mom. And so now we have mothers that can help them just to be a good mom. You know, they're just trying, which is really important. A drop-in center, that is our low barrier access point for primary care needs and services. So they have laundry services on site, shower services, hot meals. We have our clothing closet, our dance floor, and as I was just telling Marcia, we're growing our skilled programs in this space as well. We're going to be doing more. We're going to be doing some cooking classes. We have a workforce development program within this department as well that does a lot of work around resume building workshops, career interview practices, how to dress for an interview. We also have mentors and mentorships opportunities within that program as well, which is really awesome. Health and Wellness Center services, like I said, behavioral health support is offered by Ruth Ellis Center staff members, and medical services are provided by Henry Ford Health System. Think diabetic medicine, think HIV prevention and testing and treatment. Think I got a freaking headache and I got a migraine. Literally basic primary health care, your basic stuff. Oh my God, I stubbed my toe, I might be bleeding. Like literally basic needs. And we have two of these facilities. One is at Claremont, and then one is at Health and Wellness Center, which is at 77 Victor. One is for family medicine. The other one is pediatrics. So once people turn like 29, 30 years old, they transition from this facility to a more long-term care facility. But ultimately, it's just a safe place to get basic care. Vaccines, flu shots, you name it. Community-based supportive services, probably one of my favorite programs. I don't know if you all remember in the video, Mark Irwin said that the agency was started because a 16-year-old was kicked out of his home by his family. This program is meant to stop that to begin with. Maybe there's a parent who's struggling with accepting their child's identity. Maybe a parent doesn't really know what to say, how to create the safe space. Maybe they're struggling themselves on like understanding altogether. This is a great opportunity for parents to be paired up with other parents and experts to learn best practices. Maybe you're a devout Catholic or a devout Christian, maybe you're Muslim, whatever your religious or values are that are hindering your ability to accept your child's identity. We probably have a parent who has been in that situation who is here to grow with you. Not only does it create community for a parent to have a support system through this hard and often troubling time, but it also gives the child a potential support system as well in the child of the other family. So this is creating community in itself, and it's a really awesome program. I really wish we had that when I was a kid, because yeah, I'm not gonna go there. Okay, and then we have our housing team, Kelly Stowe project. This project is actually no longer with us. We actually lost funding for that program. It was actually funded through the Department of Justice, but this was a way to keep trans women and trans girls out of commercial sex work and out of human trafficking. So basically, we would give them stable housing for a year at minimum. So they had a guaranteed 1 year of minimum housing, and during that 1 year, they would all get a personalized health plan plan that would help them build necessary skills to go whatever path they wanted to go down. Maybe you wanted to be a cosmetologist. Maybe you wanted to do nails and whatnot. You could literally have a personalized plan where we worked with you, help to pay for those things, to help folks move through that and get those skills to not have to be vulnerable to commercial sex work or human trafficking. Well, the DOJ ran out of money for that, and we didn't get any money again, so we had to end it. However, on the upside, we were able to save about 15 trans women from vulnerability and exposure with this program. So I always leave this program in. It just came to an end like earlier this year, but it was really one of our most impactful programs in real time. I loved it so much. And then last but certainly not least, our Ruth Ellis Center Institute, like I said earlier, training and evaluation. So we train doctors, nurses, providers, therapists, clergy folks. I mean, you name it. Anybody who needs to be trained to be better affirming, we train them. And we have a unique model that we created with the National Soji Center out of the Soji Center of University of Connecticut School of Social Work. We worked with them to create a unique model that we only use. And so it's allowed us to be one of the most leading agencies across the country in training folks to be more affirming to LGBTQ issues, but also talking about LGBTQ rights. We recently had a contract signed with the state of Michigan to train all of the child and family welfare workers, but also to redo their entire system to be more affirming and allow things like a chosen name, chosen gender identity, things of that nature, allowing for young people who are LGBTQ identified to be easily identified, to be moved to safe spaces, and not be put in vulnerable situations like I was once threatened with when I was a young person. Now, I know I just laid a lot on you. However, the premise of it all is this work is really important. Without this work, we have so many young people who are tossed away and thrown into the abyss, but also vulnerable folks who are often pushed into very dangerous situations that as a child, they shouldn't be forced to have to make those decisions. That's number one. Number two, the group here, Love Wins Committee, has done a phenomenal job showing up day one. Marsha reached out to me, and within a week, we had a plan, and not only did we have a plan, a reoccurring plan, and now the young people expect to see Marsha and the rest of y'all from this committee at the drop-in center serving food. And when they don't see you, they ask me when y'all coming. So now we had to get a calendar and put a calendar up so they know when folks is coming to serve food. Because they have the people that they want to see, and we want to make sure people that they want to see know that they want to see them. So that's number two. Number three, and finally, we need our community more than ever. We don't know what the future holds in any situation. We never know what the future holds. Tomorrow we could wake up and the agency could be in dire need of Lord knows what, like coats, who knows? But at the end of the day, we need community. We need folks who are ready and willing to support these young people so they can grow up to be strong, vocal, independent, outspoken people like myself. When I was young, I was often told that I just talked too much or I talked back. Ruth Ellis Center didn't see that. They saw a young girl who had tenacity, who was resilient, who wanted to advocate for those who were in need, and they nurtured that. So I stand in front of you now with my credentials that, mean so much to me because as a girl, I was like, oh my God, I would never get to do these things. Now here I am. But I stand in front of you with these credentials because the work is so important to our young people. That's when they come into my office and ask me questions about going to college and being a first-year college student, it warms my heart that no one in their family has gone to college and they're considering it like I did. Those are the moments that make me happy, and I know that if folks take a chance with our young people and just, come on out and offer some support to them and you see them in real time, you'll get a chance to feel that joy as well when you're around them. So I thank you all again for sitting here with me and hearing my spiel, and let me know if you have any questions. So I see two hands. I'm going to go with the lady in the back first. Do you mind giving us your name and pronouns before you ask your questions?
The name is Shirley.
Shirley?
When I looked at the video,
Yes.
I only saw blacks. I didn't see anyone in that program. And looking at the setting here, everybody is white. Is that me? And you, and I think I saw Tony walked in. So I'm trying to
So the vast majority of the folks that we serve at the Ruth Ellis Center are Black and brown young people. The reality of it is that Black and brown young people are more likely to be forced from their homes than Black and brown folks. That's one of the biggest things. Secondly, allyship comes in all shapes, sizes, and forms. I pray to God that we have folks that are in this room that are LGBTQ identified, but also am happy that we have folks in this room that are not LGBTQ identified. We recognize that as an agency that it's going to take folks outside of our community often to get the work done. We can't do it alone, hence why community is so important. And so, yeah, as an agency, we do predominantly serve Black and brown young people, but that's because that's who comes to us with the support. That's not to say that we don't serve young people who are white or who are Asian American or Arab American or any other type of identities. We serve whoever comes to us, and predominantly always mostly see our Black and brown young people. Yes.
Eileen Berner, Sheeter.
Thank you.
2 questions. One is, do you take clothing donations?
Yes, ma'am, we do. Tuesday and Thursday from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. I'll send an email to Marsha that she can give to you all.
And let us know what you're in need of.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
And sizes and age range and so forth.
Of course.
Secondly, I'm on the board for Impact 100 Metro Detroit, which
Yes.
is a giving organization.
Yes, we're familiar.
I think you've applied before.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
I urge you to apply again, and the program where you lost funding, I would promote that program
Okay.
as the project to be funded.
Yeah.
For potential of being awarded $100,000.
Thank you. I will let my director know. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Thank you. I saw one more here. Wait, I will go here and then over here. Yes.
If a child comes to you that has been brought into the country through drug gangs and whatever, and they're being trafficked,
Yeah.
regardless of whether they're heterosexual or whatever, can you take that child in to give them a chance to get away from people that are controlling their lives that they may still owe money to? Have you had that experience?
So we haven't had that experience directly. However, because we're not an agency that do immediate housing or emergency housing, there is a process. So we are a part of a continuum of care through the city of Detroit. So folks do have to go through a process to be secured with housing with us. However, our case managers work with folks to make that process a lot smoother and a lot faster. But when folks need immediate assistance and are migrants or immigrants from another country or are fleeing, we work with our friends at Freedom House, who do a lot of that work to get that done for us in real time. That's what I mean when I say we rely on community. Oftentimes we have situations like this that arise, and we have to lean into our friends that do this work for us. And then when capable, we're able to take up where we can as well. And then I saw, yes.
I'm Linda.
Linda,
She, her.
thank you.
And I have a friend, black gay man, who posted something on Facebook a couple of days ago that I'd like to read because I'd like, maybe you can give some clarification for how we as people interested in being supportive should navigate this new scenario. So, okay, I'm Linda. He wrote, I'm willing to give some of you the benefit of the doubt that you mean well when you make, sorry, I don't have my glasses. So, when you make and share posts like these. Let me tell you what the post says. It says, I'm a safe person. If you are LGBTQ+, Black, brown, Asian, any race, coming out, anything. I think that's what it says. I am always a safe person and will hold space for you. Okay, so I'm going to continue to read his comment. To many of us, these are performative and self-serving at best, and dangerous lies at worst. You can't decide for an oppressed group of people that you are safe to them, especially if you come from a group that has historically been responsible for and benefited from their oppression. What you can and should instead do is start looking inward at the reasons that their opposition so often feels safe and comfortable around you. Maybe he means their opposers so often feel safe and comfortable around you. Association breeds similarity. So I feel, I just want to understand, if it's an uncomfortable thing to say I'm an ally, and if I perhaps am not trustworthy, like historically, and perceived as not trustworthy, I guess I don't know what to do.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And I had to speak with my boss before this presentation because I kind of figured this conversation would come up, knowing the demographic of the area that we're currently in. So this is what I'll say, I'll say this from multiple perspectives, so just bear with me. In a pursuance of safe spaces, as an agency, as Ruth Ellis Center, as a pursuant of ensuring that our spaces are always safe for everyone, we listen to those that we serve. We ask them what they want to see. So when I was mentioning earlier about our positive youth development, that's another part of that. What do you want in this space? They tell us the programs and services they want, and we offer them. For example, we just had a voter education session at the beginning of October because that's what they wanted to see. They wanted to know about their rights as a voter, but also knowing how to make the right informed decision. So we offered that session. We had community advocates come in. We've even had state representatives come in and share their story and talk to young people about their importance of voting and things of that nature. It was a whole thing. It was great. It was lovely. Listen to our podcast if you get a chance. You'll hear some of that. But we listen to them, and so what I'll say during now, and this discourse has been all over social media, and we as an agency are not here to tell anyone that they're not doing enough. But what I can tell you is allyship is a verb. I'm gonna say it again for you. Allyship is a verb. It's not an adjective, it's not a noun. It is a verb, meaning you should be doing work. I don't know what that work looks like for everyone, but if you're going to call yourself an ally of the LGBTQ community or the Black community or any minority community or whatever community that you're an ally to, you should be actively doing work. So when Marsha and her clan pull up to the Ruth Ellis Center to serve dinner, that is allyship, because they are actively pulling up, doing the work in real time. So that's what I can say. Now, if you want to have a discussion later on a personal note on, some of the discourse that's been happening, you can find me before this is over. But we're not here to tell you that you're not doing enough. We're just here to tell you thank you for what you are doing and that there's always work to be done. We all know that. There's always something to do. I tell my fiance that all the time. I come home and he's like, well, what you mad for? Because there's always something to do. You got time to play a video game? Pick up them dang on shoes. I don't know, make it make sense to me. But ultimately, allyship is something that we have to put a little energy into. So, I also want to encourage folks to look inward to find your peace. If you are doing work, let that be enough for you. If you feel like you could be doing more, then go do more. If you feel like what you're doing to help any community is enough for you, let that be enough for you. Do not run yourself into the ground trying to support others. That goes for all of us as humans. Okay? Thank you. Of course. Yes, ma'am.
While we're waiting for the $100,000.
Yes.
Were there efforts to bring back that program? Other efforts to bring back that program that really struck
me? So what I'll say is, and Steve and Marsha was just asking me this earlier, how many staff do you all have? So we have a staff of about 50 folks, about 50 positions rather at the agency, but there's a need for so much more, purely because my department is 3 women. 3 women. One just had a baby. One just had a midlife crisis. And then you got me with all this dang on energy with nowhere to put it. So we like and my department is the sole department responsible for raising a large part of our non-restricted money. A lot of the money that we receive is restricted. A lot of the grant money that we get is restricted towards certain programs only. And so my department is tasked with raising a certain amount of money to keep the lights on, to pay the water bill, to pay the electrical bill, to pay for like little frivolous things that we often might think is frivolous but are important to our young people, such as supplies for their dance floor. We just had to buy a new like corner edge for it because it chipped off. It was like literally like $45 for a thin piece of plastic. It was like really weird. I don't know. But so my department is tasked with raising that unrestricted dollars because we have young people who have those needs that are not covered by grants. And so that's one of the biggest things that we struggle with is getting those unrestricted dollars in to do that work. And so when we have folks who are able to supplement our resources or our support in ways like serving hot meals on a regular basis, that we can pull money from that now because we have somebody else taking care of that, we're able to then put money towards those types of things. So there has been efforts to potentially diversify our funding to allow that to come back. But it just ended earlier this year. The girls that are in that program are still doing fine. We still have contact with them. They're all within our housing department still. We're looking to do a little bit differently with our pool of money for housing to help support them. But we do want to bring that program back because there's so many more other girls that we can help with that program. But I do appreciate the enthusiasm. Folks are like, are we looking other places for this? And I do appreciate the comment for Impact 100. We are definitely going to be doing that for sure. Any additional questions, comments, concerns? I want everyone to feel whole. Yes.
Jimmy, I was just curious, does Ruth Ellis get involved upstream? You mentioned the families, but do they also do anything like with the local school district and things like that?
Yes, actually we do. Thank you for that question. That's a really good question. We actually do. So one of my favorite activities is going to the schools and talking to the young people about what we do. I recently was at University of Detroit Marygrove. So I don't know if everyone knows they turned Marygrove into a high school, or like, is it like K through 12 or something like that? Either way, Marygrove has a grade school attached to it, and one of my favorite things is when they call me to go there and I talk to like the 8th and 9th graders and we talk about what does it mean to be understanding and accepting of a community. And so the last time I was there, we were talking about the work that we do in the community and how it's helped so many young people. But yeah, we oftentimes do go to the schools, or like if there's like any like pride celebrations that happen with DPSCD, we will go there. I know there's some GSAs. Actually, one GSA out here had us come for like a resource day that they had. So we've definitely been all over the Metro Detroit area, spreading the word to schools and universities as well about the work that we do and how young folks can get involved. And actually, we have a school in Ann Arbor that's coming in April to volunteer at the Ruth Ellis Center. So that's really exciting. So yes, we do. Thank you for that. Yes.
When you mentioned the education programs for like healthcare workers, and
Yes.
things like that, do they have to be groups of people, or do you ever do like individuals, or?
It really depends. So we do a quarterly training. Every quarter we have a training where folks can learn a lot of that information. So yeah, if folks are interested in a quarterly training, the next one is in January on the 17th. But we have to do one every quarter for individuals. But if it's like work, and that's another thing too, they are continuing education credits. So if you are a social worker or a teacher or any type of like service department or public service department, and you want to have this training potentially offered, they are continuing education credits as well. So, but yeah, we do something a little bit differently on our quarterly training, but it's nowhere near the exact same as the trainings that those folks get that are professionals. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Hi, as the vestry rep to the Lovelands Committee, I just wanted you to know that that board that was being passed around was just to put you on our email list so you know about the talks, the movies, the social events and things that we do. However, if you would like to increase your allyship, make your verb more active. We do have a separate sign-up sheet on the table over there where you can sign up. It occurs almost without exception on the third Wednesday, right, from
Yes.
that will be coming that you'll hear about, so lots of excitement. And I encourage you to get informed and get involved, and it's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, and my email's here. Maybe you're like, hey, I don't want to be asking my questions in front of everybody. This is my email at the bottom. Hey, even if you email this one, the development email, I'll answer that one too. I'll probably even answer that one too. Yes.
Since Christina mentioned email, if you saw today's communicant and said you could contact me, it has the wrong email address. So if you'll write down, the first part's correct, but it's Comcast, so .net. So just want to keep that in mind. If you'll jot that down, it's Comcast.net, or you can always find me through the church directory or whatever. But I just want to let you know it's supposed to be Comcast.net, so keep that in mind. Okay. Thanks.
Make sure you put that R in Ruth, y'all, when y'all send me that email, because Steve just had to point it out to me. Ain't no R in Ruth. I don't know what I was doing. There you go. Hold on, wait. Let me change it back. There you go. Come on, computer. All right, there you go. It's got a R9. It's got a R9. But yes, please send me an email. Let me know if you want to talk further about engagement. We always need volunteers. If you have any type of particular skills, maybe you know how to do tech or communications, maybe you know how to do web design, maybe you want to teach a class or something. If you have any type of unique skill that you would love to teach our young people or offer to the agency, please let me know. And I would love to connect with you and have those opportunities for sure. We're always looking for artsy folks, and I see a lot of artsy people in this audience. I'm looking certain ways. I see my artsy people. We love artsy folks, so please, once again, just reach out to me and let me know, and we would love to connect and build more community. Thank you, John.
Okay, well, we have a gift for you today.
Is my hair okay?
The engagement committee this summer was working on, we have 4 tenets, meeting Jesus, finding joy, sharing beauty, and serving others.
Okay.
And part of the Finding Joy this summer, we did a number of engagement activities where people just got together for fun and made donations. And as a result, it was decided by our mission outreach, those donations should go to the Ruth Ellis Center. So we have a check for you today of over $2,200. And some dollars and cents. And some dollars and cents be after that.
Photo opportunity.
Tim, can you have someone else to take that? Tim, get someone take that picture so Tim can be up here. Tim's been a big part of this committee.
See, this is what I was talking about. And then y'all wonder why I come in here with all this energy, because every time I come in here, y'all love on me and love on the young people at our agency, and it's beautiful. So thank you all again so much. Thank you.
This is some, but not all of our steering committee. There are some members who aren't here today.
Thank you, Christina. It's been wonderful having you here. She's such a special person, and I just want to say, the Ruth Ellis Center is a beautiful, beautiful place to be, and so is Christina and all the staff there, and the wonderful youth and young adults who come through the program. So continue to keep the Ruth Ellis Center in your mind and in your hearts. And if you want to step forward and volunteer, that's great. But please remain an ally. And if you're not an ally now, you know what? We'll work together and get you there. So let me know, and don't forget it's Comcast, not .net to reach me. So thank you so much, Christina. God bless all of you here, and God bless the Ruth Ellis Center.
Thank you.